Election results are still pouring in this morning, and no winner has been declared in the race for the White House. So here's where we stand as of right now. Joe Biden is leading with 238 electoral votes. Donald Trump, 213. Both need 270 to declare victory. Right now, we have 7 states are simply too close to call, which likely will decide our next president. So joining us to break down the presidential race and the biggest races in Utah is the director of Utah's Hinckley Institute of Politics, Jason Perry. Jason, thanks for joining us here this morning. What do you make of the race for the president today?
So glad to be with you. This was such an amazing night. I know it's a lot of anxiety and no one likes to wait, but the ups and downs of this one were just quite phenomenal, particularly given the backdrop that this presidential race is in with the worst public health crisis we've had in a century here, the economy kind of on the brink, so many important questions, and that's why this race was so hotly contested, and it's just so hard that we still don't have the answer who's going to win. This one is way too close to call.
What do you think is the biggest determining factor that gives us this tight race today?
Well, it's those two things I just mentioned. Right now, the people in the United States are looking at the things they care about most. They're looking at their health, their safety, their jobs, the ability to put food on the table. And you put around all this, the pandemic and the response from our leaders in the country, and people are realize that they have to vote on people that are making decisions about the things they care about most in their lives, the things that are most important to them. And because of that, I will tell you, it looks like America has woken up to a serious extent and decided to engage in a very serious way because these are very serious questions that are electing people to take care of.
You know, when we look at the polls here, it appears just like in 2016, the polls have underestimated the president's support. I'll give you an example there. Pennsylvania, it had Biden up 8 points. The president, when it comes down to those actual votes, is now leading by 13 points. What do you make of the polling errors we're seeing 4 years later?
Well, what's one thing that's completely clear is the polling does not capture particularly President Trump's influence or approval in the United States. That is what's clear. There are a couple of reasons for this. You know, there's no real excuse for it except to say the polling is just a snapshot in time, how people are feeling in a particular part of the country, in a particular area, at a particular moment. And this is a really hard race to poll. That's the reality. And on top of this, it's become so polarized. I will just tell you, when you ask people who you're going to vote for, they don't like to tell you so much. We saw a lot of Biden signs and flags and places like that around the state. But when it comes to President Trump, people don't talk about it as much. That is a reality, even though pollsters are trying to make changes to how they weight their polls, which is interesting because even last time, 2016, for example, they said, well, they don't even know if they asked the question about the education level of the voters. They keep trying to fine-tune that when it comes to President Trump. So far, they continue to not get it right.
I still have questions for you with the presidential race, but I do want to ask you about some of our Utah races as well. For example, the McAdams-Owens race right now, that's too close to call. Is this what you expected there?
Well, yes, we expected this to be close. This is the most hotly contested race, of course, in the state of Utah. But a little context on this particular race. When Ben McAdams lost to Mia Love, this is by less than 700 votes in the end. And when we all went to bed that election night, Ben was only ahead by 5,400 votes. And it took 2 weeks for us to know who the winner was in that particular race. So last night we went to bed with Ben up 7,765 votes. This one is still amazingly close, and we're not going to know the results of this one for a couple of weeks. And really, we're seeing what the byproduct is of a pretty negative race. Most people would say, whatever happens in this one, we're just glad the commercials are stopping.
Yeah, that's true. I think we can all agree on that. There's a lot more here where you have a lot of other candidates, congressman, governor, all winning by large margins. Any surprises there?
No, there were no surprises in any of the rest of the races in the whole state of Utah. All of them went according to the polling that we were expecting, and even right down to all the constitutional amendments. Every one of them passed, of course, as you've been talking about on your show, but very few surprises. There are a couple of things to look at in the numbers that are interesting, particularly that Spencer Cox was able to do so well in the state of Utah, outpolling Donald Trump in Utah also. That was one of the big surprises. The Republicans did even pretty well, the local Republicans, even better than the national ones.
Thanks to you for your analysis. That's Jason Perry with Utah's Hinckley Institute of Politics. Jason, have a great morning.
Thank you.